Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to ETHNewYork. We'll be starting the opening ceremonies in just a few minutes at the main stage. So everyone sort of make your way towards the big ETHNewYork signs. But first, before the opening ceremonies begin, we're going to have Sook, a VR artist. Yeah. Sook started working in November 2018, and she majored in Korean painting, ink wash painting. Her style is traditional Korean sceneries and nostalgic trees in your mind. Her artworks are displayed in Space 776 Gallery near Midtown Manhattan Station. Please welcome Sook.
everybody. Good evening, everybody. I am Kartik, one of the co-founders of ETH Global, and welcome all of you to ETH New York. All right, let's get this started. So this is, of course, our in-person event, but there's a lot of you else that are also watching a lot of this online. So I want to welcome all of you to the live stream as well. And with that, let's kick this off. So ETH New York is an event by ETH Global. A lot of you have been here for the past few days for other events and other things going on this week. A lot of you have been part of our events. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I want to bring this up again. This is not a conference. There's one person that's excited. These are hackathons. All of our events are put out by ETH Global, and our goal is to bring on as many developers as we can into the Web3 ecosystem. And we do this by running a lot of hackathons and educational events. The reason these are not conferences is because our focus is on builders. We care about learning, being able to mentor and get mentorship and growing as developers, and we believe showing is more important than telling. So everything you're going to see this week is going to be about building things and not just talking about it. And we've done this for the past 4.5 years in all continents across the world, whether it be South America, India, the US, Canada, New York a few years ago, London, Europe, Amsterdam a past month ago. All of this happens in person and online. And over the past few years, this is some of the things we've been able to accomplish. With over 42 events across the world, we've done over 1,000+ hours of educational content. Over 4,000 projects have come out of ETH Global. Over 50,000 people have been onboarded in this community, and we've given away $3.5 million in prizes to so many individuals that have helped bootstrap their passions. And altogether, the companies that have come out of some of these projects have raised over $500 million, even though that's never been the goal. And this brings us to ETH New York. This is an amazing crowd here. We have 1,500 people from 56 different countries all in this building. 37% of them are new to Web3. They're all developers. On top of that, we have 100 mentors, 24 educational workshops, and because this is not a conference, only 6 talks. So we're going to make sure they're good, and you get to see all of them tomorrow. This officially is our biggest event with over $500,000 in prizes and the best and the biggest we've gone in the past 4.5 years. So congratulations to everybody that's been here, and can't wait to get all of you onboarded. On top of that, we have 48 incredible partners that are here this weekend. You get to talk to some of the best companies and protocols in this space. I want to quickly give them a big round of applause. We'll just kind of keep clapping. I'm going to say all the names as I can. I want to thank all of them that made this possible. So starting off with OpenSea, Optimism, IPFS, Filecoin, Polygon, Wallet Connect, 1inch, Boba, DYDX, Scale, Tatum, Valis, WorldCoin, Uniswap Grants Program, BitDAO, Connex, Covalent, Chronos, Gnosis Safe, LivePeer, Mina Protocol, Pocket Network, Skynet, Superfluid, Swivel Finance, Taxout the Graph, UMA, ApeWorks, Chainlink, Unlock, NFT Port, EPNS, Lens Protocol, Reservoir Protocol, Privy, Element Finance, ENS, Tenderly, Gnosis Chain, XMTP Labs, Storage, SpearX, Blockchain Space, and I'm totally blanking on this thing, it's Radical, Threshold, Nomad, ElasticSwap, Core Tracker. Thank you to all of these amazing companies, and you get to be part of this now. All right, I know there's going to be a lot of things coming on here, so we're going to make sure the first 10 minutes are all about logistics so nobody's confused for the next 2 days. We're going to talk about what's happening in the venue. There's clearly 2 venues here with different things going on. We're going to talk about how you can get help, all the prizes, judging, submissions, team formation, all that stuff. So let's start off with the venue. This is where most of the things are happening. If anything, this is where everything is happening. This is multiple floors. The main floor is for hacking space, the stage, food, and the sponsor area. The second floor, 4th floor, and 5th floor are also hacking spaces, but we also have workshops going on 2nd and 4th floor. So if you think something is full here in terms of tables for you wanting to work, you can go up on 3 other floors and find more spots. There should be more than enough room for all of you to work on a table comfortably. And there's another space on the other side where registration was, and you can use that as an overflow room as well. On top of that, we have some really cool activities and things going on here. So we have a mini NFT exhibition curated by Brauhaus and Wim. That's also near where the registration was. There's a digital photo booth here, so you can take your selfies right at the edge where you came into the other building. We have a mini arcade set up on the 4th floor. You can play some classic arcade games. And we're going to just do some fun activities like being able to do latte art tomorrow on the 4th floor at from 5 to 8 p.m. So check out all these things going on. All these things are also on the schedule in case you forget or you don't know how to look where they are. You are able to go to the website or your hacker dashboard. Everything about this event will be communicated officially through Discord, which means that is the best way we have to reach all of you. All of you should be already there. That includes all of our partners, speakers, as well as all of hackers. On Discord, you will see all the channels about ETHNewYork. And if you don't see them, find anybody on the ETH Global team so we can make sure you have the right permissions. The Discord URL is ethglobal.com/discord. And these are private channels which are only open to the attendees in this building. We also have dedicated channels to get help about specific protocols or overall things that you are blocked on. And there's also mentor desks at the end over there, and you can physically go up and talk to people and get help and get unblocked or talk about anything that you need help with. Remember, even though things are on Discord, you are here in person. It feels weird, I know, but you can talk to people and get things answered live. It's revolutionary. On top of that, you should also have some calendar invites, especially for Sunday, on how everything is coordinated, whether it's submission deadlines or judging or when food's not going to be served at. So you can use that to coordinate a lot of the things with you and your team. Everything, again, is on the website, and let's go into all the hackathon stuff. Hackathon officially begins now, which means you can start working on your project. You can work on your projects as an individual or up to 5 people on your team. You have until 9 a.m. on Sunday to hack, which is actually a little bit more than 36 hours, but you can start working on your projects as of right now. In terms of how a project is qualified, everything that you're going to be doing should be done from scratch, which means you cannot continue building what you have been already working on in the past for this weekend. So everything that you're going to do should be done and should begin as a piece of code today. Only RSVP'd hackers are eligible to win prizes, which means that if you do not see your name on the list of a team member while you are submitting, you are not an eligible hacker at that point. So if you do end up winning any prizes, we will not be delivering them to you. There's also some edge cases there, of course. Some of you joined last minute, so if you are in one of those groups, please make sure that it says on your dashboard that you were indeed confirmed. And on top of it, there's a lot of workshops and talks going on. There's 24 workshops happening right after this, and some of them have already started. And right after this thing ends, you can go up on the 2nd and the 4th floor to see a lot of talks that all of our amazing partners are hosting, and that includes introductory talks as well. Everything is also on the info center, so if you're not sure where to find all these things, you will have a link handy from your dashboard and your calendar invites. And of course, if you miss something, because some of these things are happening in parallel, everything is recorded and also live streamed, so you can immediately catch up by just heading over to ethglobal.tv. That covers a lot of the logistics. For those of you who are trying to find what the website is, it's just nyc.ethglobal.com, and you can see everything from prizes to the schedule to everything else there directly. Let's talk about submissions and judging. Submissions are due at 9 a.m. on the Sunday. This means that your dashboard will stop accepting submissions, and everything we have at that time will be the final set of projects that will be getting judged. And because this is a time-sensitive thing for us, because we have to coordinate a lot of people returning and being able to go back home on time, this is going to be the deadline. In terms of how judging works, we'll keep this simple as well. 30 minutes after submission, judging officially begins, which means you will be assigned a room to go to present your projects to the judges. If you are going for the main judging route, you get to walk up to the judges. If you are trying to win some prizes from our partners, you get to walk up to their booth and present your projects to them. So there's 2 sets of judging going on, and these are happening in parallel, which means if you are trying to win a prize for 3 projects and protocols, you will have to present to all 3 of them by going over to their booth and then also to the main judging for the main ETH Global prizes. You will be given 4 minutes to demo and 3 minutes for Q&A, so that's 7 minutes in total. We do recommend that you do a video submission in case something goes wrong with the Wi-Fi or something goes wrong with your demo if it's on localhost. So this way you get to play the video and your demo without actually breaking anything from what you worked on for the last 2 days. Please don't do this thing last minute. There is a lot of things that go into the submission piece because you do have to verify and specify which projects you are or prizes you're trying to go for, and give at least 30 minutes for all these things. And all this will happen on your dashboard, and we'll be giving a lot of prompts on Discord and email. Also, you do have to specify which projects and prizes you're going for if you are going for any sponsored prizes. They do not magically get to know that you are applying for their prizes. So if you do not click this on your submission process, they have no way of knowing who to expect. So don't miss out this important section. And they'll be at the booth, so you can just go find them after you've been assigned a judging appointment. All right, code of conduct. This is an in-person event, and there's a lot of people here. And the rules for this event and the code of conduct is on ethglobal.com/rules. You can see all the details around how we think about anywhere from photography to intellectual property, which is you own everything that you build, nobody else has a claim for this, and how to behave in this community. The short of it is please be respectful, and harassment and abuse in any form will not be tolerated. If you feel like somebody is harassing you, please come find anybody on the Global team, and we'll take prompt and immediate action. Even if none of this is about the code of conduct, you just have general questions, there's going to be a help desk 24/7 from us, and we'll also be monitoring Discord, so just ask any questions on Discord or just come to the table. All right, this is majority of the logistics. Hopefully, most of you still got this. This is also being recorded, so don't worry, you can also watch this later if you want to go to a specific slide. But before we go into our amazing panel for today, I want to bring on some amazing partners that are here to talk about how they're supporting the Web3 ecosystem and some of the prizes you can win from them. So I'm going to kick this off by inviting Lucas to the stage from IPFS of Altcoin. Please give Lucas a big round of applause.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucas. I run the Builders program for IPFS and Filecoin, which means that my job is to make it as easy as possible for you to build with us and ultimately, hopefully, build a company that succeeds in our ecosystem. IPFS, for those who don't know, is the kind of making the web work peer-to-peer. It's a content addressing and routing protocol, and many of you use it and know it. Filecoin is the decentralized storage network that builds on top of IPFS, 18 million terabytes of capacity to fill, so I'm excited to see what you guys will build with those technologies. Come find us at our booth. We're right at the entrance. And at 9:30 tonight on the 4th floor, we'll have a workshop to answer all your questions. Quick glance at the ecosystem. We have over 4,000 storage providers in the network, and they collectively provide 18 million terabytes in storage capacity, which makes us the largest decentralized storage network on the planet. And on the other side, we're seeing increasing demand, right, from an explosively growing ecosystem. There's over 330 startups in our ecosystem, many of which started in a hackathon, and I hope that some of you will be that next generation of startups that we see. There's over 9,000 developers working with Filecoin, which makes it one of the most actively developed blockchain protocols. Filecoin is a lot more than just storage. The Filecoin virtual machine is coming up. Filecoin is turning into a net negative carbon footprint. We have retrieval markets. So it's really turning to the foundation of Web3, and I encourage you to learn more about it and engage with us. 4 things that I'd like you to do. One is hack and win, right? So we have 20,000 prizes up for grabs with an intentionally broad challenge statement. Just use IPFS or Filecoin. You can also use technology that builds on top of them, NFT.storage, Web3.storage, textile, other tooling. Just go. As long as it uses IPFS or Filecoin, you're eligible. Second, join our workshop, 9:30, 4th floor. And then find us at our booth and our team. We have recruiters, we have myself, we have developer advocates here to answer questions. And if you want, you can join our leaderboard challenge and collect points by doing activities throughout this hackathon on Discord, by joining the workshop, by tweeting about it, by submitting a project. And if you lead that leaderboard, you're eligible to win some swag boxes at the end. Thanks so much, and looking forward to seeing all your submissions on Sunday.
You're tall. Thanks, Lucas. Next up, we have Miguel from WorldCoin. Please welcome Miguel on stage.
So, everyone, I'm Miguel from WorldCoin. We are here as part of our initiative to be more open and more transparent. We're open sourcing everything we're seeing in the community. We're also participating in as many hackathons as we want to get more people to build on it and discover the protocol that we're building. And so we aim to solve civil attacks. If you have done anything related to NFT projects or airdrops, you know what I'm talking about. Civil attacks are when users of your application are just bots or people trying to manipulate activity, to manipulate incentives, or make it seem like they get more of a reward for anything, or any of these things. And so WorldCoin aims to be able to anonymously tell whether someone has ever done any of these things without revealing any information with them. We call this Wall ID, and what it enables you to do is to anonymously verify that someone is a real person, a real human, that is performing an action only once without revealing anything else about them. So again, they have never voted in a governance proposal, they have never minted an NFT, redeemed an airdrop, joined a Discord channel, all of these things. We use this little guy, the orb, to make sure that you're real, using an iris scans and biometrics. We do everything on device, so that it's completely private, and your iris obviously never leaves the device. And then we use zero-knowledge proofs to make sure that no one can use this to track you or learn anything about you, including WorldCoin. And so the user verifies their entity with the WorldCoin orb. They only need to do this once. Afterwards, applications can use the protocol, our SDKs, to solicit verification for the users, which they approve through the app, and then the project just verifies on or off-chain. Requesting verification is as simple as 3 lines of codes, and then you can verify this with a CAPTCHA that then gets validated either through an API or on-chain. It looks like this, really, really sweet. This has a really wide variety of use cases, from voting, airdrops, quadratic funding, and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, we have a big amount of resources. We have a developer portal, all of the documentation, examples, starter kit that we can wait for you guys to use. We have a Discord channel. We also have a booth up there, and we have a channel on the ETH Global Discord. So yeah, let's build together.
Thank you, Miguel. Next up, we have Kartik from OpenSea. Please welcome Kartik on stage.
Hey everyone, my name is Kartik. I lead protocol at OpenSea. Protocol at OpenSea is a relatively new team, and we kind of came out of nowhere. However, we're working on a lot of cool stuff, and we're just getting started. The first of which you may have seen, we announced Seaport a few weeks ago. Seaport is a marketplace protocol for safely and efficiently buying and selling NFTs. What does that mean? So what does safe mean? We had a lot of your favorite auditing firms kind of take a look at the code, but more importantly, we opened it up for the entire community to take a look at. We had almost 70 contributors outside of OpenSea who came in, ripped apart the code, improved it, and alongside that, we ran $1 million Code Arena competition that I'm sure some of you may have participated in. And then what does efficient mean? Somewhat maybe criticized, Seaport has been heavily written in assembly. That makes it kind of hard for a lot of people to understand, but we really think we use a lot of clever tricks to help shave off gas and make it cheaper for our users. So yeah, that's Seaport, and I'm really excited to see what people can build with it. It's kind of just getting started, and we want to work together with the community to take it forward from now on. Thanks.
Amazing. All right, next up we have Wallet Connect. Please welcome Sebastian.
Hi, everyone. So, many as you know, Wallet Connect is a secure remote signing protocol. You probably know us as the QR code that shows up when you click Connect Wallet. We have any wallet, any app, any chain. And for this hackathon, we have 2 tracks. We have the DeFi track and the social track. The DeFi track is anything that is more money related, while the social track can be either NFTs, DAOs, social recovery. We will pick and choose. Please come to our booth. It's very important that you have a full integration with Wallet Connect. We want to see the full signing from connection to signing on the wallet to a confirmation on the dApp. That's really the bare minimum criteria for winning one of our prizes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. Next up, Alec from Valist. Please welcome Alice on stage.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Alec from Valist. Super stoked to be here. We're building Web3 native software distribution. I'm going to tell you real quick what that's all about. But basically, right now, Web3 is putting massive amounts of energy into decentralization, and then we're re-centralized everything at the distribution level by publishing Web3 software over Web2 platforms. So what is Web3 native software distribution? Well, things like publishing, fetching secure updates that come from your typical Web2 platforms. But now we can do some awesome things like DAOs can coordinate software together. So you can imagine a DAO publishing a new version of Geth together, as well as the ability to create software license NFTs to monetize your software directly instead of having to ask Apple or Google or anyone else for permission. Just create a wallet and start monetizing. And why do we need this? Well, I got some amazing protocols up here. Some are not listed because we're working with them to get them on Web3 native distribution, but Geth is built on Microsoft Azure Blob Store. Polygon is on GitHub Releases, ultimately still Microsoft. And it all goes to the end user for things like mobile apps, games, and especially things like Docker images for our infrastructure. So the issues with this, risk of compromise, censorship, availability, all the things we know and tout for Web3. And then the centralized payment infrastructure from Web2 platforms is permissioned, and they take 30+%. Whereas Valist is a set of tools that coordinate protocols together to make publishing software in Web3 easy. And you could use the web front end, CLI, GitHub Action, TypeScript and Go SDKs. There's the web app. There's the CLI, super simple. GitHub Action, just paste that at the end of your workflow if you're already using GitHub. And then the SDK if you wanted to get in the nitty gritty. And you can find it, valist.io. Go to the docs, join our Discord. We're super excited to help out. And check out our GitHub and Twitter. And I'm just going to take a moment to reflect on some of these amazingly unique opportunities that these events provide. So this screenshot here is actually a picture of Valist from Hackafest 2020, our original hackathon submission. And now we're here, we've raised money, we've built a company, and actually we're growing pretty great. So you never know what's going to come out of these events. So just keep hacking away. You're going to meet some amazing friends. You're going to build amazing things, and it's going to be very memorable. And we have a very awesome prize pool. Anyone that publishes on the platform can qualify, and then we're picking 5 finales. And it's using IPFS and Filecoin already, so the Filecoin and IPFS team already said that other tools work. So by publishing on this platform, you can also qualify for those prizes. So thank you so much, everyone. Best of luck. Hope you have an amazing time. Have a good one. Cheers.
It is always incredible to see hackathon projects become companies and give back to the community. All right, next up we have Arno from Tatum. Please welcome Arno on stage.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Arno. I am the head of growth at Tatum. We're super excited to be here. Tatum is the leading blockchain development platform in the world. We have over 60,000 projects and companies that are building amazing blockchain applications right now using Tatum. So we have built an entire framework that allows you to build anything you want across 40 different blockchain protocols, both layer 1 and layer 2s. The good news is you don't need to learn each of those blockchain, their complexities in a different language. You don't need to run nodes, and you don't need to learn how to code smart contracts. We have everything covered if you're using Tatum. You use our API and Unify SDK, and you can build anything you want. So the question is not what can you build on Tatum, but how easy and simple it's going to be for you to build your application. And for those of you who don't know Solidity or Rust, don't worry. We have an entire JavaScript SDK that abstracts you from the complexity of a blockchain. So really, you can build anything you want. Now, we're super excited to be here in New York. We were in Amsterdam back in April. We have some fantastic projects that we're using with Tatum. And for this weekend, we're offering over $20,000 of price for people who are building on Tatum. On top of that, we'll give away $500 for every hacking team that's using Tatum over the weekend. The only thing you have to do, you go to tatum.io and you get your free API key. And this weekend, we want to build together some amazing blockchain application together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jack from Scale. Please welcome Jack on stage.
Hey everybody, how's it going? All right, who is hacking this weekend? Let's see it, all right, awesome. Okay, so happy to be here. My name is Jack O'Haller and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Scale Labs. We're the core team behind the Scale Network. The Scale Network is an open, decentralized, modular, multi-chain blockchain network. One of the coolest parts of Scale is that it's actually built on Ethereum and integrated with Ethereum. So Scale cannot run without Ethereum. Right now there are 28 unique modular blockchains running live in the Scale network. All of these are anchored into the Ethereum network with stake and different security operations that support Scale. So we end up bringing value back to Ethereum and supporting Ethereum. Anyways, there's some other key features I want to talk about. One, zero gas fees, okay? So there's a unique economic model where chains are paid for in advance with Scale tokens, and end users do not need to pay gas. So we've been working on this for a long time. We started in 2017. This is our 4th year of doing ETH hackathons. It's probably one of our favorite things to do. We love being here. We love supporting the builders. The main update for this slide is that V2 is now live. And with that, we have over 200 projects building on Scale, over 1,000 developers building, and a lot of momentum, especially in gaming. There's a huge gaming flow coming into Scale from other chains, as well as new projects launching in gaming. DeFi is also now live on Scale. So you can go to ruby.exchange and have less than 2-second block times with instant finality and zero gas fees. Now, I've got some technical slides. I definitely don't have time to go through all of these. So what I would say is I welcome all of you if you want to understand how the modularity of the Scale network functions, how the security functions, how this Ethereum mainnet helps orchestrate chains and provide security and collusion resistance to the network, and how the chains and validator nodes actually support each other by pooling security across the different chains. So come by and talk to us. Okay, we have 20,000 in awards, $5,000 grand prize. There's a $5,000 pool prize. So every single team that submits a hack on Scale will share that. So if there's 10 teams, it gets divided up by 10, 20, etc. So we're here to help you. We'll be here all weekend. Last thing, if you want to mint an NFT right now, live on the Scale mainnet, zero gas fees. It's not lazy minting. Give it a shot. This is an ETHNewYork NFT, courtesy of our partner Ivy.cash. A wallet will be created instantly on your iPhone or Android phone without any native wallet. Okay. If you didn't get a chance to click that, come by later, and we've got some cards at the booth. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jack. Next up, we have Kelvin from Optimism. Please welcome Kelvin on stage.
What up, what up? I'm Kelvin. I work on Optimism. I don't have slides because you don't need slides to understand Optimism. It's super simple. It's just like Ethereum, but it's cheaper. I don't have slides because I did not sufficiently prepare for this. Now, Optimism is a layer 2 scaling solution. It's really easy to use. You just go to optimism.io and everything you need to know is right there. Optimism is trying to solve 2 main problems. We're trying to solve problem number 1, Ethereum does not scale, or it doesn't scale when gas prices are high. And problem number 2, Ethereum's social layer does not scale, and we're trying to fix that too. So if you want to build on a cool blockchain that is both cheap, fast, and trying to solve the public goods funding problem in this space, come talk to me. I will be over there at the Optimism booth. It'll be a lot of fun. We got like $20,000 worth of prizes, and you don't even have to build on Optimism to win them, but you should because it's cool. And each of the prizes are designed to incentivize you to go learn something fun and do something interesting and go build something ridiculous on Ethereum to flex your muscles, learn some solidity, and enjoy your time at this hackathon. Have fun, and you know, go build on the coolest scaling solution, and come talk to us if you're interested about governance in the Ethereum ecosystem. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you, Kelvin. Next up, we have Jordan from 1inch. Please welcome Jordan on stage.
Hey everyone, I'm Jordan. I do community and governance at 1inch. So if you don't know what 1inch is, we're a decentralized exchange aggregator. We actually were launched at Ethereum New York 2019. Sorry. So we solved the problem of fractional liquidity across DeFi. So, sorry about that. So the aggregation protocol was V1. We've actually grown to be V4 now. I'm sorry, I can't. Sorry about that. I just found out I'm doing this like an hour ago, so just bear with me. We have $16,000 worth of bounties, so come by the 1inch booth back there. Everything ranging from NFT aggregation to margin orders. So yeah, thank you.
We'll edit this later, don't worry. All right, next up we have James from Boba, and then one more to go after that. Please welcome James on stage.
Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. We do not have slides because this is not a conference. I just want to make sure that's clear. So I'm James. I'm on the ecosystem growth team at Boba Network. Boba is a multi-chain layer 2 scaling solution. We're extremely excited to be here, by the way, with all of you guys. This is great to see the turnout. So very quickly, in 2 minutes, I want to give you the 4 reasons why you should build on Boba this weekend. Reason number 1 is our mission. And I think we share a similar vision as a lot of folks in this space, where we want to create a accessible environment for all people, regardless of borders, to reap the benefits of blockchain technology. However, our approach and our contribution to that is how we are unique. Which brings me to really the second reason, which is how are we unique? Like all other layer 2s, our goal is to scale blockchains, make them faster, make them cheaper. But Boba, we're also focused on making blockchain networks smarter. And how do we make it smarter? We make it smarter with hybrid compute. So natively on Boba, we enable your smart contracts to call any external Web 2 API. So things like complex computations or machine learning algorithms that are happening off-chain, you can make those calls in your smart contracts natively on Boba and bring them in on-chain. Reason number 3 is our multi-chain approach. As we think about this multi-chain future and it becomes more clear, we are thinking about ways to create a multi-chain future for users, builders, developers, and our layer 1 partners. So we've already deployed on testnet other instances of layer 2 Boba outside of Ethereum. So we're really excited to create a multi-chain future as the unified L2 for the L1s. And lastly, the 4th reason, which you all are probably most excited about, is we are also giving away $20,000 worth of prizes. So come by our booth and speak to myself or Greg, who's my marketing partner here, and learn about how you can win a prize for deploying on Boba this weekend. Thank you.
And last but not least, Rahat from Polygon. Please welcome him on stage.
ETHNewYork, what is up? Come on, let's go, what's up? All right, they said it's a bear market, but I don't see that here, right? We're all here to build, we're all here to take the next step into building the future on Web3. Here to tell you a little bit about Polygon. First off, my name's Rahat. I'm a developer advocate over at Polygon, which is the leading platform for Ethereum scaling and infrastructure development. We've got a whole bunch of different solutions for you to build on, whether it's our proof-of-stake blockchain, a ZK EVM solution that was announced today, available to start playing around with 1 month from now, and a whole suite of other solutions for building on top of Ethereum. It's easy for developers because if you've already been developing in the EVM space, you already know Solidity, you already know how to use things like Hard Hat, Remix, you already know JavaScript, things like that. All of that maps one-to-one over to Polygon. You don't need to learn anything new. But if you do need to learn some new stuff, we do have Steph who's going to do an awesome workshop, 10:30, second floor. We have prizes worth over $20,000. Here's some of our tracks. We're looking for the best impact social goods, public goods that are built on Polygon, $2,500. NFT track, most innovative use of NFTs, $2,500. UX track, I want to see some really good user experiences built on top of Polygon, $2,500. A DeFi track, best DeFi use case on Polygon, another $2,500. If you win in any of these tracks, there is something else very special for you as well. We also have a pool prize of $10,000 that will be split amongst the 10 runner-ups to any of these categories. So thank you. Really awesome to see all of y'all hacking, and have a good weekend here.
All right, those were all of our partners. So we have 2 amazing speakers we want to bring on, and before we do that, I'm going to just spend 5 minutes going through all the other prizes we have available so all of you know here, and then you can find all the details on how to win that on your dashboard. So first up, we have IPFS and Filecoin. So there's a first place prize for $6,000 and $3,000 second place prize, and there's also a $5,000 category for a pool prize, which means each team will get $500 each for a best use of IPFS or Filecoin integration. Then, as we just heard, there are multiple tracks for $2,500 each, which is best impact, best NFT, best UX, and best DeFi project on top of Polygon, and 10 runner-ups for $1,000 each for being a Polygon user and deploying it on Polygon. Next up, we have Wallet Connect. So we have a DeFi track where the first place is going to get $5,000, second place is going to get $2,500, and third place is going to get $1,250. And then a social track with the same numbers and an additional $2,500 for a pool prize, which means that anybody building in that category will split the amount equally. Next up, we have 1inch. So there are 3 first, second, third place prize from 1inch, $8,000 for the first place in 1inch tokens. Second place will receive $5,000, and third place will receive $3,000, and this is for being able to use the 1inch protocols and SDK in your project. Next up, we have Boba. So first, second, third place will get $10,000, $6,000, and $4,000 each for the best integration of the Boba network. Next up, we have DYDX. First place will get $5,000, second place will get $3,000, and third place will get $2,000 in DYDX tokens for the best integration of DYDX protocol. Then we have OpenSea. So the best Seaport contribution will receive $4,000 for the first place, $1,750 for the second place, and $750 for the third place. And then the best ecosystem or community integration with OpenSea SDK will receive $2,000 for the first place, $1,000 for the second, and $500 for the third place. The fun one is Optimism. There are a lot of prizes here, specifically designed to make you be aware of different EIPs. So that to use crypto as a tool to change the world as a category, 4844 will be given as a prize amount. The most public goodiest public good will get 3675. A hack that shouldn't be built on a blockchain, but it's anyway as a category, is 3668. The most absurd hack, as determined by the Optimism team, will be receiving $3,074. And just using Optimism in your hack and deploying it will be receiving $4739. And these are all EIPs that you should check out. Then we have Scale. The best use of the Scale integration will be receiving $5,000 for the first place in SKL tokens. Then there are Metaverse Gaming NFT categories for prizes, which will be receiving $8,000 in Scale tokens. The partner integration is going to be receiving $2,000, and a pool prize category of $5,000, receiving $5,000 in Scale tokens. Then we have Tatum. So the best overall project will be receiving $5,000. The best project specifically for NFTs will be getting $4,000, and 3 outstanding projects will be getting $3,000. And they also have a pool prize for 10 teams. Then we have Valist. 5 teams will get $1,000 each for the best Valist integration and a $5,000 placeholder or pool prize that'll be split equally. Then we have WorldCoin. So first, second, and third will get 7,000, 5,000, and 3,000 in that order, and a $5,000 category for anybody using World ID in their hack. And then we have the Graph, Pocket, UMA, Superfluid, Connects, Mina, LivePeer, Chronos, and NoSafe, each offering $10,000 in prizes on their side. Then Covalent, Taxa, BitDAO, Uniswap Grants Program, ApeWorks, and Skynet offering from $8,000 to $10,000 each. Then we have Privy, Reservoir, EPNS, Gnosis Chain, NFC Port, Swivel, Tenderly Storage, and Lens offering $5,000 in prizes. And then Chainlink, XMTP Labs, Element, Unlock, ENS, Blockchain Space, SpearX, and Radical offering $2,000 to $5,000 in prizes. So overall, we have $500,000 in prizes being given away this weekend, and we can't wait to have all of you check this out on nyc.ethglobal.com/prizes. All right, now for the fun part. I want to invite 2 special guests on stage to share some fun stories and the past, present, and the future of Web3. So without further ado, please welcome Hayden Adams, the CEO of Uniswap Labs, and Carl Florch, CTO of OP Labs, on stage. We're going to do some questions. Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
All right, so this is a really interesting time. People are somewhat talking about the markets, but we don't see any of that in this room. This is more than we've ever had in any room or any place in the world in terms of developers. And you two have been a unique part of that history, so I want to talk about how some of these things happen and what to look forward to. So let's start off by some intros. But let's make that interesting. So Carl, tell us about how you got into this space and how you know Hayden.
All right. So I am Carl. I work on Optimism, and I have known Hayden for, we calculated it literally over there, 9 years. 9 years. That's a while. And we first met each other in college. I knew his roommate. He's a mechanical engineering major. I knew his roommate because he was a comp sci major, and so I chilled with his roommate because I'm a comp sci major, because yeah. And then I met him. And then I was like, yo, you should live in my suite, because my suite's way better than yours. And so he came over to mine. And then I kind of got deep into Ethereum in about 2015, absolutely deep. And Hayden was my low-key rock, you know, he was kind of my dude. And I just could not stop talking about Ethereum every single day to Hayden. I am so sorry. In fact,
it's a massive understatement.
This is true. I was like, oh yeah. I feel like Hayden may have, just from our hangs, like gotten more than like a deep, like just absurd crash course. Like that's all we talked about for a very long time.
Yeah, I'd say there was like 2 things Carl said to me every day. Was 1, I should stop being a mechanical engineer, and I should start coding. And 2, I should be more into Ethereum. This was all the way back starting in 2015, but it persisted for several years.
That was good advice.
Yeah, persisted until about 2017. I was, at that point, we had both graduated. He was working he had just moved from, he had gone to Consensus, and then he had gone to the Ethereum Foundation afterwards. And he was now working on writing the Casper FFG smart contract. And I was working at Siemens doing, boring heat flow analysis. And I got laid off, 1 year into working there. I don't think I was very good at my job. And Carl was very happy. The first thing that Carl said to me was like, this is the best thing that has ever happened to you. Because now you can work in Ethereum, and you have no excuse not to. And I kind of took it and ran with it. you know, for what it's worth. At that point, I think he had actually converted me over. Took years of wearing me down, but you know, the idea of building you know, smart contracts and you know, applications that were unstoppable, that you know, people could use and interact with each other, and didn't need to trust each other, but could engage in complex interactions, was like pretty cool. And so I'd say I was pretty won over. Yeah, I mean.
So maybe just going to walk us through how did that lead to Uniswap?
So the way that that led to Uniswap, and I think we can probably go back and forth to get through both of our stories, but I'd say that you know, the way that that led to Uniswap is about 3 months in to learning Solidity, and for what it's worth, the developer resources at the time were very, very sparse. I initially learned Solidity basically through like a small blog post that Carl had written. And like,
so did I.
Yeah, Carl had written a blog post that was like the very basics of using Remix, connecting it to MetaMask, deploying your smart contract, and then like maybe 1 or 2 YouTube videos, but it was really sparse at the time. And I felt like I needed something a little bit more to like learn. I felt like I was stalling in my progress. I actually shouldn't even take credit. Carl was like, the way that you stop stalling in your progress is you have a side project that like focuses you. And so, you know, I was looking for a side project, and maybe Carl can come to like how it got recommended to me, but essentially Carl pointed me to a blog post from Vitalik talking about like a new way to do exchange on Ethereum. And so I, you know, decided to start implementing it, and eventually that became Uniswap. I don't know if you have context there.
I could give some extra deets. So I was working at the Ethereum Foundation, traveling around the world with Vitalik. Now, Vitalik knows how to travel. He is a beast. I mean, seriously. So anyway, I was just barely keeping up with him. But we were like giving talks, and in between giving these conference talks, Vitalik was saying, hey, no one has built the most dead simple, like the most obvious, like this, of all of the designs of a decentralized exchange, there is this one design, and it is called the Constant Product Market Maker, and it is the best design by far, and no one's made it. You need to find someone, or you should build this, like someone should build this, like we need to fund this. And by the way, this is a public good, right? He was saying that even back then. And so I found someone to build it. David Knott. Actually, the first implementation was David Knott. Shout out to David Knott, Coinbase.
Respect. I usually don't say that one.
The second person to implement this, no, actually the first person to implement it was Vitalik actually wrote a quick prototype in Viper, which of course was a language that he also built himself. Literally, just savage individual. But then Hayden was the most clear-cut, you know, obvious choice, right there, like waiting, hungry to actually take a project and run with it. And so I was like, hey.
Yeah, cool. So Carl convinced me to build Uniswap, and I basically spent the next few months building out like a prototype. Actually, he told me that if I built a demo in a month, he would talk about it on stage at DevCon 2. So I basically wrote the first version of the Uniswap smart contracts and my first website, which was like a simple Create React app. I didn't even know how to use components, so it was just one long file, one long like app.js file, and I created like a dead simple interface for Uniswap, and he talked about it on stage at DevCon 2. And then from there, a few people reached out to Carl to be connected to me, and then I started going to Ethereum conferences, you know, ETH Global events and other events. Shout out ETH Global, and you know, started to become more ingrained in the Ethereum community. And I eventually met Vitalik, got an Ethereum Foundation grant, eventually finished building Uniswap and launched it. But
no, it's incredible. What we're going to try to do is the timeline intersection here a bunch of times. So maybe in parallel, Carl, how did working from Casper to Optimism or Plasma to Optimism, how did that happen?
Oh, wow. All right. Well, started out building Casper. This is the early Ethereum proof of stake protocol, learning all about consensus algorithms, learning all about decentralization, and implemented this alpha Casper testnet. So, implementing fork choice with proof of stake, validators, all this kind of stuff. But after having implemented that, it was pretty clear that Ethereum itself, the core protocol, could not scale. And I like using things, I like interacting with things, and I got a little disillusioned because Casper is more about security. It's like hypothetical stuff. It's, this application, but it doesn't make your average dApp a huge amount better, right? The average dApp is still gonna be expensive if Ethereum cannot scale. And so I was like, okay, let me get into scalability. So it was ETH2 consensus protocols, ETH2 sharding protocols with Justin Drake. He came in and he just described all this amazing stuff, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But I am extremely impatient, and I do not want to wait for sharding and hard forks and governance, and oh my God, I'm just so bored by governance. So what I wanted to do was build in layer 2. You don't have to wait. This is permissionless innovation. So with the help of Ben Jones, Jinglan Wang, Kelvin Fisher, we started Plasma Group. And Plasma Group was this layer 2 scalability company. But guess what happened? Hayden Adams comes again. He strikes again because we built Plasma, or we created a Plasma testnet. And then we showed our Plasma testnet to Hayden. And you know what Hayden said? He said, that's nice, but can it run Uniswap? And we were like, we could kinda, and it couldn't really. So we went back to the drawing board, and we came up with this generalized version of Plasma, and it had all these things, and it was really cool. It was programmable. You could deploy Plasma contracts. And then we went up to Hayden again. We're like, check this out. And Hayden was like, cool. Can it run Uniswap? And our spirits were at the bottom. We nearly gave up on scalability. No, we didn't give up yet. But we came back. We were like, and boom. This is what led us to optimistic rollups. This is why we were like, we should call them optimistic because we're pretty optimistic people. So we called them optimistic rollups because #branding. And we showed it to Hayden, and we're like, can it run Uniswap? And then he asked, of course, can it run Uniswap? And we're like, heck yeah, it can run Uniswap. So we were like, let's call it optimistic rollups, and let's create a company called Optimism, and let's inject some vibes in this place.
And here we are.
Here we are. Yep.
Okay, so it's an interesting point that you brought up, and obviously I asked this with benefit of hindsight, but as you both were doing this, was the intention to ever create a company out of this, like implementing a working prototype from a blog post to getting Uniswap to run on a scalability solution?
I don't think for either of us the intention was ever to work at companies or create companies. I think for both of us, we were at the time pretty obsessed with Ethereum in our respective ways. I was, I had this grant funding. I thought maybe Uniswap would always be funded by grants. I wasn't really sure. And I was just most interested in trying to make something work, and thought maybe after I proved that it would work, maybe someone would hire me at their crypto project. It was more for me a proof of concept.
To learn and broaden.
Yeah, I think that the backdrop was that there were 3 or 4 other decentralized exchanges at the time that had raised between $40 and $153 million. And I sort of assumed one of them would win, and that Uniswap was kind of more of a proof of concept for something that was built on top of Ethereum, but was as decentralized as Ethereum itself. And it was less about efficiency or even just
scalability of it.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to build a business. I was just saying can we build something that's as decentralized as Ethereum, that is on top of Ethereum? And then can answer Carl's for him a little bit, which was that originally they formed like the Plasma Foundation or something. Plasma Group, which was a nonprofit foundation, and that's how they originally set out to build it. But I think what we both learned is, and I think Carl has a lot of opinions on public goods funding, but I think what we both learned is, when I went back to apply for another grant, it wasn't going to be big enough to fund development of Uniswap v2 or all the things that I wanted to build. And when Carl was at Plasma Group and they were looking for funding, it wasn't going to be enough to fund what they were working on. And so that is what led to the initial seed round where I formed a company, and at the time there was no business model in mind or anything, but it was like, hey, like this idea is really cool. People are building on top of it. When Uniswap launched, there was this immediate developer community because I was the only developer on it, and I wasn't really a developer. And when there was a bug, there was no one to fix it, and when there was no analytics, and so someone had to build analytics, and so there was this natural grassroots thing.
And that's an interesting point too, because obviously the world was entirely different a few years ago from a developer tooling standpoint, resources available, other opportunities. If you could kind of come back or go back in time and kind of give yourself a piece of advice on what would you have done differently for your own progress about either Optimism or Plasma or Uniswap, what would you tell yourself?
You want to go first?
You can go first if you have an idea.
Advice. I don't know. It's a little bit hard to give. I feel like it's worked out pretty well, and I'd say that I would probably. I think that I would probably tell myself to get less distracted by really short-term things. Things that were short-term incentives or short-term ideas or narratives or one person getting mad at me on Twitter and then getting roped into it. I think I wasted a lot of time arguing with people on Twitter over random shit that ended up not mattering at all.
Welcome to the internet.
Okay, yes. So, yes, no short-term thinking, long-term, steady build, sustainability. That is one thing for sure. The other thing is the simpler the protocol, the simpler the expression of the protocol,
Agreed.
the better. So I would go back and I would tell my old self the koans that the wise sage GeoHot told me. GeoHot being a hacker. Great dude. Anyway, his koans were, there are two of them. One, the fool goes and, okay, the wise person, I don't really know the whole saying, but basically, the wise person spends, to cut down a tree, spends 7 hours sharpening the blade and 1 hour chopping down the tree. The dumb person, spends 24 hours chopping down the tree with a dull blade. Okay, what does that mean? That means that you need to be planning and thinking about what you're going to execute on for way longer than you expect. Iteration and experimentation, you do need to absolutely do that, but thinking really clearly about a simple and elegant solution to a problem is a way to have way more impact with way fewer lines of code. So the second koan is every line of code is worth $100. So think about it that way. When you are thinking about a solution, you spend 7 hours sharpening the blade, and then you write very few lines of code to actually solve the root of the problem. And that, those ingredients allow you to solve mega problems that otherwise would not be possible.
That's a really, really good answer. That's much better than mine. I'm jealous.
It doesn't actually work at a hackathon.
Yes. No, I agree. I think simple solutions, always the best.
So this creates an interesting conundrum because obviously we have the benefit of hindsight, but in that world when you're trying to figure out anywhere from elegant solutions to just waiting for certain things to happen for you to kind of get the prerequisites you need, how do you think about staying motivated or not losing track or falsely kind of making a short-term decision? Do you have any frameworks or just overall, how do you kind of think about making that type of decision? It's a very open-ended question and a hard one.
How do you stay motivated when...
Yeah.
That is a good question. I think for me, the thing that kept me motivated was I was really excited and interested in what I was working on. And so I think that like whatever you're working on, I think that like, I don't think it's good to be like lukewarm on it or like I think that to like put in like the time and the energy, you have to be like interested and excited by it. Because if you're interested and excited by it, it will feel a lot more natural. I don't know, that's my take.
Nice. How I stay motivated is I stay optimistic. Okay, no. Here's the framework that I use.
Wink.
The framework that I use really is there are two options, right? You can either be optimistic and think that you can have an impact and think that you can do things and, you know, actually make a change, or you can be pessimistic and not think that the world can be made better. And the thing about being optimistic is that how are you going to make the world a better place? How are you going to actually have an impact if you don't believe in yourself to make that impact? Turns out the word optimized is actually to act as an optimist. You make something better because you see a path to a better future. So the thing that keeps me optimistic is not necessarily that we are going to survive the next year as a species. I have no idea. But what keeps me optimistic is I definitely know that if we do not survive as a species in a year from now, but we were working to make the world better, then I feel pretty happy about the journey that I was on throughout that whole process. Because it's fun. I mean, I want to help, like, this ship is sinking, right? And I want to, like, plug holes as we go down with the ship. Like, I'm ready. I mean, we might make it to shore, but, like, at least we'll be plugging holes. It'll be crazy. It'll be fun. We can chant and stuff.
He's always been like this.
I think we should think about it from counting lines and $100 as a diff. Well, speaking of exciting things, Uniswap recently acquired Genie. Tell us about how that decision happened and what do you plan on doing with this acquisition?
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Genie is an NFT marketplace aggregator. And so, you know, you have a bunch of different NFT marketplaces like OpenSea and LookRare and Rarible and Coinbase NFT and all that. And Genie is a website you go and it lets you trade across all of them at once. So the reason that it was so exciting for me and for our team is one that we shared a vision, and what that was is really the reason that I'm not excited about ERC20 tokens in the abstract. I'm not excited about any of this stuff in the abstract. I'm excited about what Web3 and this technology enables, and so one of the things I'm really excited about is the same way that like the internet democratized access to information, to me, Web3 is about democratizing access to ownership and value creation. And so to me, ERC20 tokens are interesting because they are a means of digital ownership and a means of, expressing value and creating value and making ownership and value, more accessible to more people. And to me, NFTs represent basically the exact same thing. And when I think about what we do at Uniswap Labs, it's not just about building efficient protocols to back Web3. It's about explicitly with the intention of making it's not there's protocols, there's interfaces, there's developer things in between. And what we're most interested in is the impact that we have and the ability to make Web3 more accessible. And so, Uniswap protocol has pretty high market share. Like, it's definitely possible to make more efficient trading protocols. But to us, what we've started to feel is that the barrier to entry, the thing that's holding back Web3 is not necessarily efficiency at the trading protocol level, but how accessible it is.
Access on its own is the barrier.
Yeah, and so I think that Web3 or NFTs, ERC20 tokens, there are two different ways to represent value and ownership, both really valuable. And we're really excited about, over this next year, transitioning from just building protocols to, building protocols, but also building the interfaces, the developer-facing interfaces, the user-facing interfaces, and more to make it more accessible to more people.
So maybe, I guess, beyond NFT marketplace integration, what else is cooking?
I think, I can't, there's only so much alpha I can leak at once, but what I'll say is that, like, we do want to just continue to press on, well, one thing cool about NFTs is that I think that there's a lot of room for, like, right now they're viewed as ERC20 tokens and NFTs are like two very different ecosystems. People view it, there's like, we are having, like, right now, this is more of like a DeFi thing, and earlier this week we had the NFT thing, but I think that it's all building towards like a shared future and a shared internet of ownership. And so I think that's something we're really excited about, is starting to try to bring the two things together, as well as like implement more of a, I think the same way that the internet is.
Is that a protocol and a product argument, or just the product side of it?
Protocol, product, all of it. But I think that, just like the internet, like Web3 is going to be very social, it's going to be very community based. It's not, the lines aren't going to be ERC20 and NFT, it's going to be, the communities are going to need both. And so, figuring out the ways to make both of them more accessible in unified experiences is something that's really exciting to us.
Can't wait to try this out. This is going to be fun. For a world that's ready for this, how do you kind of think about the future of scalability, Carl?
Wait, for a world that's ready?
For just a lot more social behaviors and a unification and just access. How do we think about L2s evolving?
Oh, I mean, how else are you going to transact? You need the base layer to scale. Okay. I mean, I'll just say, okay, future, here. Without question, Ethereum, layer 2s, we will scale. In fact, we will scale to a point where we can support as much demand as we can support with literal hardware, right? So horizontal scalability, making sure that like the cost of a transaction is not proportional to the, this massive amount of demand for this single, the single chain, but instead the cost of a transaction, at least for cheap transactions that are not related to like, arbitraging a really volatile asset, right? That's always going to be expensive. But for your average, game, for your average, even just a social interaction, that needs to be dirt cheap. That needs to cost essentially the cost of the bare metal. And so we are building out that experience, but that does not mean that we need to fracture our, ecosystem into a lot of different separate chains and networks and all that kind of stuff. As Hayden was saying, we need to have a consistent experience, a unified experience, an intuitive experience, and that unified intuitive experience needs to be supported on the back end and the infrastructure. Just like we have front ends that are unified, we also need our back ends to be expressive enough so that it can support it. And so that, that's what we're building. We're building this. It's gonna be crazy the amount of transactions that are gonna go on in
Optimism.
layer 2. On optimism. That is absolutely right. Thank you.
Not shilling if I do it for him and he does it for me.
Oh, yeah.
The test really is it must always be able to run Uniswap in any form. Because the test becomes, can it run Uniswap in any form, in any shape, in any size?
Yes.
And then you've passed the L2 bottleneck. Tell us more about Bedrock.
Oh yeah, okay. So, Bedrock, what does it invoke? It evokes a foundation. What is Bedrock? Bedrock is the foundational roll-up client for literally all L2s. And by the way, I'm not just talking about like optimistic roll-ups, I'm talking, it'll be in the future ZK roll-ups, all the kinds of roll-ups as long as they are EVM equivalent. Bedrock is that foundation. So what is Bedrock really? Okay, Geth is what runs the EVM. Again, gonna get a little technical here. To make Geth run in layer 2, we were able to get the lines of code down to 400 lines of code. That means that you can look at the diff and you can say, okay, I know Geth runs in production. these are the changes that need to be made to get Geth running in layer 2. Boom, I understand what layer 2 is doing. I understand the protocol, making it simple and approachable. Why did we do this, you might ask?
Why?
Great question. Because GeoHot came up and he was like, yo, your code is way too complicated. There are way too many lines. You need to cut this down by 10x for it to be even remotely ready for a full production, life-changing, world-changing protocol. And so what we did is we spent the next 7 hours sharpening our axes, and we chopped those lines of code down to that 400 number. And it has been a Goliath task, but it will now serve as the basis, the bedrock, of an enormous amount of innovation in the layer 2 space. You can now understand what layer 2 is really doing and hack on it. So take a look, read the code. It's one commit. It's crazy.
That is crazy. And I've read that, and it blows my mind that you can do that and spark such a massive change.
It's shocking that, like, when you look at a very small line, like diff, how much more work that took. Like, it's like you want every line of code to take hours.
Addition by subtraction.
Addition through subtraction. Wow. My God, we're making the iPhone of Geth clients.
Well, is there something both of you disagree on?
Huh?
Either of you, do you disagree on anything amongst each other, whether it's a principle or an approach or a direction? Very open-ended.
Yeah, I'd say Carl, I don't want to say he's more optimistic than me. I think I'm like reasonably optimistic, and I am a big believer in
I think he wins that game by default.
being optimistic, but I think sometimes, I know this is kind of abstract and opaque. I think we agree on a lot of things, but I think sometimes we disagree about like the inevitability of things. I think sometimes Carl is like, well, it's inevitable that all these huge forces will move together to like this end result. There's sort of like path independence of like societal forces. And I'd say that like for me, I feel like things are a little bit more path dependent. Like, you know, like individual kind of, I'm not saying that like, yeah, but I don't know, that's kind of a weird abstract answer.
No, we disagree, but agree, you know, like we're like, you know.
Yeah.
But I will say that I am obsessed, and I am obsessed with thinking from first principles, thinking about like math, using that to inform my decisions. And that is why I feel like overconfident sometimes, but nah, I'm not overconfident. I'm just in the right amount. But I feel overconfident in like making insane bets. Like I'm like retroactive public goods funding. Vitalik said retroactive public goods funding to me and like explained it. And I was like, that is it. And I am like I'm mad. Everything is retroactive public goods funding. It's just like a pursuit of that
Tell us
idea.
more about what that is, how and why is that set up, and your role in that.
Great question. Well, retroactive public goods funding, it's really, it's in the name. The idea is that you retroactively reward public goods. But what does that do, right? You're retroactively rewarding public goods. Well, what it does is in the long term, it means that people who are building public goods know that they can get retroactively rewarded. Why do we want this? Well, we want impact to equal profit. Right now, there's a big problem and this is actually what Hayden was alluding to earlier with the formation of Uniswap and the formation of, from the transformation from Plasma Group to Optimism, is that Ethereum back in the day did not have sufficient public goods funding sources. If you wanted to make Ethereum better, that impact would not result in profit. And that's a problem in Ethereum, but it's also a huge problem in our society. Generally, when you think of profit, you think of exploitation, you think of extractive behavior. That is bad news. That is going to lead us down these pessimistic paths. So we need to make sure that positive impact results in profit. And so retroactive public goods funding is the long-term way that we can actually make it so that people know if I have that positive impact, I will be able to get rewarded through these mechanisms, through public goods funding channels, and make that thing pop.
And there's been a couple attempts by the Optimism side. Tell us more about what's happened and how it was structured.
Yes, indeed. So we have done our retroactive public goods funding round 1. That was $1 million. It was quite a few months ago. We are now going to do the second iteration of retroactive public goods funding, and it is going to be way more legit. We are improving the quadratic voting mechanism. We are making the interfaces really, really quite nice. And we are going to be using it as the launching of the Citizens House in a very small form. So what is the Citizens House? Optimism, the Optimism Collective, the governance system for Optimism, the layer 2, has 2 houses. 1, tokens. 2, citizens. We need identity solutions. So we are allowing the citizens, those are the people who will be directing these retroactive public goods funding. Because we don't want our public goods, we don't want those to be judged by token holders. That's like a plutocracy. We don't want the people who have the money to say what the public goods are, right? That doesn't make sense. We want the human beings, the individuals, to direct those funds. So retroactive public goods funding and the Citizens House is coming soon.
So for what it's worth, we have seen some of these like retroactive public goods funding forces in action. An example is that like a lot of DeFi protocols are seen as public good infrastructure. And what happened with the Uni token launch was that
Airdrops is a variation of that.
Yeah, everyone who had ever used the protocol in the early days, who added a huge amount of value and helped get the thing off the ground, was rewarded when the token launched. And there was and then since then, what has happened? More people have started using DeFi protocols earlier, speculating that they'll be rewarded. And so that's essentially a kind of a hint of what retroactive public goods funding looks like. But then what they're talking about is like making it more explicit and having actual funds that go out and find whoever is doing the most public good and just paying them money for nothing.
I know this opens up a slightly bigger can of worms, but how do you sort of subjectively assess the impact? Because a lot of things are in that category.
That is the ultimate question. It is incredibly hard. If we can assess the impact in we can't do it objectively. That is just fundamentally an impossibility result, because impact is fundamentally subjective based on your goals, your preferences. However, what we can do is we can start equipping every human being with stronger forms of identity so their voices can be heard. The big problem right now with assessing impact is determining who actually is what people's preferences are, what individuals' preferences are. And we have this horrible problem where we don't even know who is a human on the internet. So how are we going to, there's no way, we have no hope of assessing impact until we give people a voice. And so that is step 1.
So does that mean you have to solve Sybil resistance before we get to solve retroactive funding?
Yeah, Sybil resistance is something that is not going to be solved. It's not like we
rather
flick a
improve
switch.
than solve.
But yes, we need to create Sybil resistant mechanisms before we can start to judge impact.
And Hayden, you have a thing about that.
What's that?
You have a solution for the problem.
For Sybil resistance?
Or potentially with Sybil.org.
Oh, yeah, I'd say that's very loosely a solution.
It is correct.
It's more of a way to people to link Twitter identity to Ethereum addresses. So I don't know if I want to show that as a true solve. For what it's worth, I don't know if you need to fully solve Sybil resistance.
Two things you disagree on.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I think that again, it's not all that. It's not extremes in one way or the other. You could also just have some funding. You could have protocols vote on a.
You can tier up the amount, I guess.
Yeah, or you could do your best. You could YOLO your best, right? The Uniswap initial fee tier, 0.3%. It was a YOLO. It worked well enough for Uniswap V1, and I think you could kind of YOLO out a public goods fund that would improve things versus not having it. And maybe it doesn't go all the way to the we've solved all of society's problems, but it's a step.
And to be clear, we are not going to solve civil resistance before retroactive public goods funding round number 2. So
we had a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Got 36 hours to hack.
Yeah, not happening. But the interesting thing is that this is actually something that kind of solves itself. It is an emergent property of everyone using systems, building better identity systems. Every single little impact counts. And by the way, we cannot solve civil resistance until we solve privacy-preserving civil resistance, because we are not trying to create some surveillance state.
Carl talks about retroactive public goods funding the way he used to talk about Ethereum in 2015.
And that's the alpha now. Uniswap also has a grants program. Tell us more about the Uniswap grants program.
Yeah, the Uniswap grants program is awesome, and there are multiple people here who are working on it. So, you know, I'd say that like decentralized governance is pretty hard. That's a general thing that the Ethereum community understands at this point. And there's different like levels of speed and cadence. And I think that one fairly effective thing is having a more slow system that like allocates out to faster systems. And so Uniswap governance has like infrequent governance proposals, but you can have infrequent high impact governance proposals, and then you could have those governance proposals fund other things that are much faster and higher impact. And the Uniswap grants program is in my mind one of the most successful governance proposals in all of Ethereum to date, because it's funded 122 different projects and multiple teams that have then
probably on par with the foundation now, I think.
Yeah,
wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And Uniswap started out as a grantee of the Ethereum Foundation, and Ken, who runs Uniswap Grants, was on the along with you was on the grant committee at the Ethereum Foundation that got Uniswap its initial grant. But yeah, I mean, Ken and other people working at at Uniswap Grants have really funded tons of projects all around the world that have led to other companies and events and hackathons. And there was even like Unicode was a hackathon funded by Uniswap Grants, and then there was like 3 or 4 that you were involved with. Then there were like 3 or 4 other projects that were created there that are now real companies that have raised rounds.
That's incredible. I don't think I knew this either.
Yeah, so it's like you can underestimate the impact, but this was one governance vote, one proposal, and it's impacted probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world.
Careers, measurable impact, just income, and just more things that are also intangible that just kind of came from that one decision. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I think that like hard to underestimate how important. Right, the Ethereum Foundation grant, spawning Uniswap, like it's hard to understate how important public goods grants are.
And I'll add to that, we as ETH Global also received a grant that started everything. ETH Global started off with $80,000
Nice.
from the Ethereum Foundation, and here we are.
80,000 well spent.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right, I want to close off with one last question. There's there's over 1,000 developers here that are looking to get into Web3 and start their careers. Some are looking to get better at just Web3 development. Some are looking to start companies. Some are looking to just understand what's going on so they can think about moving over. If you were to start now as a developer, what would you recommend or advice you would give or resources you recommend, or what would you tell them to kind of stay involved in this space? And either of you can go first, and yeah, there you go. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and I'm not gonna lie, I gave some of my advice already. I mean, I was thinking when I was, stay optimistic, right? Of course, but I'll say a different thing. I'll just say a couple. One, do what you love. That's what Hayden said, right? It's really, the amount of energy that you can get from doing something that you really want and you really want to see happen is incredible. And also, make sure that you are doing things for the right reasons. I do think, I am an optimist, I do think that in the long term, if you work on just slow incremental progress, trying to get to something that is actually valuable, focusing on impact. What goes around comes around. People will start to notice, your friends will start to notice, you can bring your friends up. Also spread the love, because everything is a community effort. We need to work together and support each other, because this is, I mean, we're all in it. We're all in this experience together.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is, you know, one, like, you never know what's gonna happen. I think me and Carl, we were over there talking right before this, and like, we were kind of like, holy shit. These past few years have been really insane. And I don't think either of us really expected it to play out the way it did, or for us to be in the positions that we're in. And I think that it was like a combination of just like interest and passion, but also like luck and serendipity and like things kind of like, you know, unexpected.
Don't forget the hard work.
Hard work for sure. But I guess like, again, you know, maybe it speaks to the being optimistic thing, but like, you know, like you don't really know how things are going to play out, and so I think that the most important thing is like coming in with like genuine intentions and like working, you know, working towards something that is genuine and that you believe in, and you know, maybe we'll, you know, you never really know what's going to happen. So
I think experimentation over anything else probably leads to more creative outcomes. With that, Hayden, Carl, thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate you joining us out in New York. And with that, the last set of notes are, please pace yourself and enjoy the rest of this hackathon. Happy hacking, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday.